Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 1, Nautical Carnival 1. Chapter 1 Sailing Carnival 1. The sky is blue and the water is green. Strong sunlight shines on this bustling port. There are countless goods piled up on both sides of the road, arranged neatly like hills. Rows of cranes are working for the freighters that are docked, and the sound of the machines is drowned in the noise. Vehicles and pedestrians passing by from time to time. Fu Anan looked around blankly. Isn't she taking a lunch break at the place where she is doing her summer job? How could it be in a strange seaport? This strange place seemed strange everywhere, especially the light screen in front of her. No matter where she looked, it always appeared 3 meters in front of her. Congratulations on being selected for the Doomsday Game. There will be 9 players playing the survival game with you. Please try to survive 30 days in the game. If you pass the game successfully, you will be able to return to the real world. If you fail, you will die directly in the game. Please take the next game seriously. Current game, Nautical Carnival. There will be 20,000 NPCs playing with you. Fu Anan, what are you doing standing here? A man in his 40s and 50s with a square face passed through the middle, and the light screen suspended in the air disappeared. I'm going to board the ship soon. If you want to bring something, go buy it quickly. This shipment will take at least half a month. If you don't bring something important, don't come to me. What? She was still in a daze, her eyes still looking at the blank space in mid-air. The cargo ship leaves at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so hurry up. The man with the square face finished speaking and left in a hurry. What freighter? What nautical orgy? Fu Anan frowned, feeling like she was having an absurd dream. At this moment, a large cloud covered the sun in the sky, and the surroundings suddenly became dark. A gust of wind blew, with an extremely disgusting rotten smell, like fish that had rotted and maggot for 10 days and a half months. Boom! The container next to her suddenly heard a heavy knock, which startled her. She turned around and looked over. Why was there a sound in the container, and what was in it? Are you okay? At this time, a staff member suddenly appeared and looked at her apologetically. A part fell off just now, didn't it hit you? Speaking, the staff searched around the container and picked up an iron round shaft on the ground. No. It turned out that it wasn't the sound coming from the container. Fu Anan withdrew his curious gaze. I was taken aback, and it's over if I hit my master on the head. Sorry, we'll take care next time. She nodded when she heard the words, and suddenly saw a pool of dark red marks beside her. This container is bleeding. What's in it? It stinks. The weather is too hot, probably the frozen salmon has melted. The staff smiled slightly. Don't worry, we will clean it up before it gets on the boat. It is definitely not right to let the expensive salmon go bad. Yeah. Fu Anan glanced at the time, thinking of the game. She should stop wasting time here. She was about to leave, but was stopped by the staff behind her. Miss, you dropped something. The staff member picked up a silver-white bracelet at her feet and handed it to her. Fu Anan just wanted to say that it wasn't her, but the moment she came into contact with this thing, she immediately shut her mouth. That strange light screen appeared again. Congratulations for getting the only special item, Space Bracelet, in this Doomsday Game. Once the bracelet is bound, it will follow the player until the end of the round or the player dies. Take advantage of it and you will live longer. Specially selected good day for writing. Good luck. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 2, Nautical Carnival 2. Chapter 2 Sailing Carnival 2. The clouds pass by and the sun comes out. Under the sun, the surface of the bracelet is freed from light blue spots. Fu Anan took it on her hand, looked around, suppressed her curiosity, and didn't dare to take out the bracelet until she found a place where no one was around. 10 players, 1 bracelet, that is to say, all 10 players are robbing this one. This game is a little too stingy. Although she has just arrived, she also knows the saying that money should not be disclosed. Stay in the toilet, and then take a good look at what the bracelet is like. The space of this bracelet is very interesting. There are about 6 independent spaces, each of which is as big as a 24-inch suitcase. She sat on the toilet lid and rubbed her hands blankly, and asked into the air, are there no other rules and hints in this game? No one answered her. Fu Ainen waited for half a minute, and then continued to ask, Nautical Carnival. I don't want to board the ship, so I can stay in this port for 30 days. Find out where this is, take a car and go home directly, and earn a black tech space prop by the way. Then sell this bracelet space upside down and make a fortune immediately. Gee, her ingenuity is so terrifying. No, all behaviors of players who evade the game and hinder the game's screening function will be regarded as violations. If it is still the case after 3 reminders, it will be directly obliterated. Yo, you just showed up here. Fu Ainen looked at the light screen above. Did I say you didn't even talk about how to play the game? This round of the game, survive at sea for 30 days. This round is a generative game, and all game content is explored by players independently. Please correct your attitude, the game will determine your life and death. She was sitting on the toilet seat, and her whole body was suddenly paralyzed like an electric shock, which made her tremble. Immediately became honest. If you are sailing, you will be at sea for a whole month, so buy some food, water, plus some anti-inflammatory drugs, seasickness drugs, and vitamin C. Apart from these basic supplies, Fu Ainen didn't know what else to prepare. Anyway, sailing, the survival crisis is a storm, hitting an iceberg, a ship sinking, or encountering pirates. Relying on the money he already had, Fu Ainen first bought oranges, apples, pears and other fruits that could be stored for a longer period of time, occupying the space of 2 suitcases. At sea, what she fears the most is that there will be no fresh water. She bought another 40 bottles of mineral water and put them in a separate space. 30 bags of instant noodles plus some bread filled one space. In her opinion, if you don't starve to death, it is half the battle. The rest of the space was filled with all kinds of medicines she could think of. Finally she bought an inflatable boat and put it in the last space. When necessary, you can abandon the ship and drift. With such sufficient preparation, she can probably last 30 days no matter what. Fu Ainen silently calculated, and according to the old man's words, he found the freighter he needed to board. This cargo ship is extremely large. As a landlubber living inland, it was the first time for her to see this big boat of more than 300 meters. There are a lot of containers piled up on the ship, which looks spectacular. She was standing on the shore watching intently, when she was suddenly bumped into by a group of hurried-looking men in black. He didn't even say a word when he bumped into someone, and his eyes kept scanning the various containers. Not only these few people, men wearing the same clothes are scattered all over the port. What are they looking for? End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 3, Nautical Carnival 3. Chapter 3 Sailing Carnival 3. She looked at them, and shouted from behind. What are you still doing in a daze? Hurry up. The man with a square face stood at the boarding gate and shouted, I'm procrastinating in doing things. If your father hadn't given you money and begged me, I wouldn't have taken you to run with me. Boat. At the boarding port, there is a group of people preparing to board the ship. Hearing what the man with a Chinese face said, several of them all looked at Fu Ainen in unison. Seeing the cursing look of the man with the square face, one of the red-haired women shook her head, probably not. Immediately, several people looked away as if nothing had happened. After all, a freighter is a freighter, no matter how large it is, most of the space is used for loading goods, and only the lower floor is where they move. Fu Ainen's job is to clean up. The freighter plus her has a total of 46 crew members. They only need to clean part of the public areas every day, and the rest of the time is free. She doesn't like chattering with others, and usually stays in her room after work. In this way, it passed 4 days safely, with calm and calm. But I don't know how the game is played. Fu Ainen feels like he is hanging in midair. Staying in the house, the waiting time feels even longer. Fu Ainen, you are still idle when you are idle, and you will go to do odd jobs in the cafeteria from now on. Whatever comes. Just when she felt free, she was assigned a new task by the man with a square face, who was also her fake uncle. Little Lee, the cook, is feeling a little uncomfortable today. You can go and replace him first. Oh, got it. Fu Ainen nodded. This fake uncle seemed to have a lot of opinions on his imaginary younger brother, so much so that he didn't like the daughter of her brother. The freighter's galley is at the end of this level. Fu Ainen pushed the door open and went in. It was lunchtime, and the cafeteria was extremely busy. Chef Zhu took a look at her. "Why did you come here now? The dining car inside will be pushed out quickly." "Okay." Fu Ainen walked over, and his eyes were suddenly attracted by a person. There were so many chefs around, but that man stood there without saying a word, but he was able to gather all the eyes. Handsome nose bridge, drooping eyelashes, and the side profile connects the forehead and nose bridge in a backlight to form a pleasing ups and downs. The slender fingers are carving a carrot flower. Although the carving technique is so-so, the hands are really beautiful. The joints are distinct, white and slender, more like a work of art than a carrot flower. This cook looks very good, but his professional level is not good. It's a pity that he has such good-looking hands. She looked away and put the food on the table on the trolley. "Little Fu, the storm is coming. The sailors are going to work on the deck today, so you bring the rice," Master Zhu said while frying the vegetables skillfully. "Besides, Xiao Li's health is getting worse and worse. You should give him some food first." He brought some food. "Okay." Fu Ainen nodded, and vigorously loaded the vat onto the trolley. Then she pretended to be nonchalant and asked, "By the way, Master Zhu, when will the storm come? Will it be serious? Is this survival game a shipwreck? It's a bit big, but don't be afraid." Master Zhu waved his hand. "Our cargo ship is more than 200 meters long and has a displacement of hundreds of thousands of tons. The chance of accidents is lower than that of taking a car. I am most afraid of this kind of flag." Hearing the words, the corners of her mouth twitched, feeling that shipwreck was almost impossible. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game. Chapter 4, Nautical Carnival 4. Chapter 4, Sailing Carnival 4. The corridor cannot get sunlight, but it is brightly illuminated by the lights. Fu Ainen opened the door in front of him. The room was very dark, shaking slightly as if something was dormant on the bed cover. It was fine yesterday, but today she was inexplicably nervous. "Brotherly, I've brought you food." She reached out and turned on the light in the room. There was an exclamation in the room, "Turn it off." Fu Ainen trembled, startled by the people inside, quickly turned off the light for him, took a step back, and stood outside his room. "Are you all right?" she asked. "I'm sorry to scare you. I just have bad eyesight recently, and I'm especially afraid of strong light." Brother Li's voice was a little strange. Apart from being rough and hoarse, it also seemed to be yelling out with great difficulty. "Please help me bring the food in." Fu Ainen looked at the food on the dining car, hesitated for a moment. For some reason, she always felt that it was best not to go in now. From childhood, her intuition has always been accurate, so she picked up his meal and put it down at the door. "Brotherly, I still have to deliver meals to other crew members. Yours is at the door for you. If you need anything else, you can tell me, and I will deliver it directly to your door." After Fu Ainen finished speaking, no matter what the people behind said, she pushed the small dining car and got on the elevator to the deck. ##. Deck. Does anyone know what the pile of goods in Area A3 is? Where I passed by today, there was a disgusting smell that almost made me vomit. When Fu Ainen went up, he happened to hear several crew members discussing today's work. "I heard it's dry goods, maybe it's rotten." Another person nodded and continued, "I also smelled that smell in the B1 area, and almost sent me away. I heard what they said in other areas, it also smells like this, so we're transporting this time. Shit is not this kind of smell." The person next to him poked this person, "Don't talk about it, why don't you let me eat?" Fu Ainen took out the food from the dining car and looked at the sky by the way. The temperature is still very hot, but there is no trace of the sun, but there are more and more clouds in the sky, and the waves on the sea are getting higher and higher. "Brother, I want to ask, when will this storm come?" "Probably, tonight." The sailor glanced at her. "Are you afraid of going out to sea for the first time? Take it easy, it's just a little wobbly when you sleep at night." "Night." She delivered the meal and went back to her room. Because she is worried about the coming storm, she has been keeping an eye on the situation outside. Fortunately, she bought an inflatable boat. If the boat really sank, she could rely on this inflatable boat to survive at sea for 30 days. Fu Ainen was lying on the bed thinking, and looked at the clock on the wall. It was 6:13. Not long after, as they warned, lightning was lit outside, and the wind, storm, and rain roared. She waited nervously, but this time the storm seemed to lack a little power against the huge freighter. Leaning against the wall, she could only vaguely hear the sound of thunder. Other sounds on the ship are more noteworthy than this. Shaoli, what's wrong with you, Shaoli? Fuck. Don't bite me. The voice of Master Zhu from the kitchen came from the corridor. Fu Ainen opened the door and saw many people came out. At the right end of her room, Master Zhu ran out of Brother Li's room in panic, holding his injured arm. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 5, Nautical Carnival 5. Chapter 5 Sailing Carnival 5. Brother Li followed behind him, chasing him out with stiff, twisted limbs. His face was covered with blood, and his black gums were exposed, and he rushed towards the person closest to him. There was another scream of panic in the corridor, and several big men hurried up to grab Li Gu, stuffed his mouth with something, tied his hands and feet with a rope, and pushed him back into the room. In order to subdue him alone, several people were bitten by him. Among them, the most serious one was the man he fell on. A large piece of flesh was bitten off his lower jaw, and his entire gums, blood vessels and veins were exposed, which looked extremely terrifying. Doctors rushed to treat their injuries. The people in the corridor were still in shock, sitting slumped in the corridor and panting heavily. Shaoli is really evil. Fu Ainen exposed a small gap in the door, and asked, Master Zhu, are you okay? What's wrong with Brother Li? Master Zhu clutched his bleeding arm, palely shook his head, you Brother Li is crazy, you bite anyone you see. Go back to sleep, we will deal with this matter. Oh, good. You should see the doctor quickly. Fu Ainen looked at the wound on Master Zhu's hand again, and closed the door with a warning. The moment the door was closed, I felt the hairs on my back were about to stand up. She had only delivered dinner to Brother Li 20 minutes ago. Thinking of the bite wounds of Master Zhu and others, Fu Ainen felt a little uneasy. Looking out of the house through the peephole on the door, people outside also came back to the room one after another. On the sea, the storm has not passed. The whole night, accompanied by lightning and thunder. The 5th day of sailing, 7 in the morning. Fu Ainen went to the kitchen to pick up the meal, while the rest of the cleaners were cleaning up the blood on the floor with a mop. The blood coagulated into black blood clots flowed into the drain along the water, leaving only the smell of disinfectant water in the corridor. Brother Li was locked up. In order to prevent him from biting people, only a small hole was left on the door, and food was sent to him with tools. People in the cabin were in panic, and there were still several people blocking the door of the medical room, as if they were arguing fiercely. Fu Ainen pushed the dining car and approached, only to see a young man with a short cut said loudly, you can't let them out, who knows if Shaoli has rabies, and will they be infected if they are bitten? What if they become friends with Brother Li? Same, how about biting people like crazy? Yes, Captain, what Li Gao said makes sense. Another woman also nodded, we are just in case, and we can better heal their injuries if we don't let them go out. Obviously the captain couldn't be more stubborn than these people, so he nodded and compromised. Okay. Temporarily block the place, except for doctors and food deliverers, no one else can enter. After speaking, several people looked at Fu Ainen who was passing by. Xiao Fu, right? If this is the case, I will trouble you and Dr. Song. The captain patted Fu Ainen on the shoulder as a sign of encouragement. Fu Ainen looked at the captain and blinked, Captain, I'm afraid. If you don't want to go, you have to speak out boldly. It's just being bitten. What's there to be afraid of? You need to be brave when sailing, and there will be many serious things in the future. The captain said encouragingly to Fu Ainen, there have always been very few female crew members, Captain, I have high hopes for you. Fu Ainen had a stiff smile on his face. You don't have to. Navigation Survival Day 7, noon. Besides the doctor, only Fu Ainen had the most contact with the crew members who were bitten by Brotherly. I also saw the drastic changes in their meals. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 6, Nautical Carnival 6. Chapter 6 Sailing Carnival 6. Although the doctors are doing their best to treat them, their condition has not improved in the slightest. The wound kept bleeding and could not heal, and pus and black blood flowed out from the wound. What's worse is that some people began to have the symptoms of Brotherly, photophobia and salivation. This disease is really contagious. Then the consciousness became a little unclear, the pupils of the eyes began to shrink, the whole body became stiff, and the sound of their joints could be heard when they moved. The crew members who were bitten also began to like raw meat, and the more raw the meat, the more they liked it. When Fu Ainen was delivering the food, he stared at her as if he were staring at a piece of raw meat. It was creepy. Fu Ainen's heart beat faster, and her sixth sense urged her to leave quickly. She moved outside the door, looked at the doctor beside her. Dr. Song, I think it's better for us not to stay here, do you want to go out with me? You go out. Dr. Song shook his head, don't come after delivering enough food for us for 3 days. If we haven't cured after 3 days, you can take care of us by delivering food to Brotherly. Fu Ainen was taken aback after hearing his words. Dr. Song, you. I was bitten too. Dr. Song opened his sleeves, revealing the gauze soaked in black blood on his arm. I feel very uncomfortable. All the medicines on the freighter are here. If there is still no cure, then it's really there is no other way. We can only see if we can last until the day when the freighter docks, and then go to the hospital. Dr. Song said, showing a hint of helplessness on his face. Fu Ainen was silent for a moment. Dr. Song, do you have anything you want to eat? Anything, as long as it can fill the stomach. Dr. Song said, he is not a person who pays attention to appetite. Okay. Fu Ainen responded, turned around and was about to leave when Dr. Song stopped her again. He stared at Fu Ainen for a full 2 seconds, his eyeballs were slightly congested, and then his throat rolled up and down. Bring us some meat, medium rare steak. That look again. Fu Ainen swallowed her saliva, pretended to be nonchalant, and pushed 3 carts of medium rare steaks over. The last dining car steak was pulled into the infirmary, and the infirmary was locked with a bang. The lights in the infirmary were also instantly turned off. Standing at the door, Fu Ainen heard the sound of crazily chewing meat, and a strange roar that had been suppressed for a long time came from his throat. People standing in the corridor looked at the door with strange eyes. Even Dr. Song was infected. Fu Ainen ignored the gaze cast in the corridor, and ran to the captain's control room without looking back. Captain, completely isolate Brotherly and the infirmary, this disease is really contagious. Fu Ainen said, their appearance after infection is terrifying, just like the zombies in the movie. Several crew members who followed Fu Ainen also heard it. Several people looked at each other and quietly returned to the room. This time the game is zombies, right? Very likely. The short-haired man named Li Gao nodded. If it is true, there are only about 40 people in the entire freighter, and the outbreak of zombies here is probably the luckiest time for us. The 4 of them are all players. After entering the game, they contacted and cooperated very early. 3 men and 1 woman are all veterans of this Doomsday game. Don't be too happy, according to the urine nature of the Doomsday game, it will not let us pass the level so easily. Gao Fian, the only female player among them, said, maybe it will give us an unexpected surprise halfway through. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 7, Nautical Carnival 7. Chapter 7 Sailing Carnival 7. Fian is right. The most difficult part of the Doomsday game is the last 10 days. Li Gao said while wiping the gun in his hand. Find out other players and get space props is the top priority. Ayang, did you find anything? Li Gao turned to the big man next to him and asked, among the more than 40 people, who is another player? Yes, 2 newcomers. Ayang nodded. They are so stupid, asking around who is the player. I don't know that NPCs can't hear any information about the game. But I also learned from them that they don't know about special props yet. The rules of the game are opaque, and everything needs to be explored by myself. This is what I like about games. The corners of Gao Fian's mouth twitched slightly, otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people to help us step on mines. Li Gao couldn't deny it, and reiterated again, pay attention, be sure to find players with space props. Fu Ainen returned to her room, and sat down with some exhaustion. Thinking back on what happened in the past few days, Brotherly, Master Zhu, and Dr. Song are always the closest to them. Lately aware of it, as if walking through the gate of hell. No matter what he said this time, Fu Ainen didn't dare to deliver food to them anymore. Not only that, but it is best not to pass by their room every day. So when Fu Dafu was cursing at Fu Ainen's door, and wanted her to deliver lunch to the sailors on the deck, Fu Ainen began to play dead, pretending not to hear him. Delivering food is like sending your life away, and if you do it a few more times, it will be really fatal. You little bastard, you are as good as your father. You will be afraid of something big. Next time, even if your father kneels down and begs me, I will not take you out to sea. Fu Dafu was angry, cursed at the gate of Fu Ainen. You son of a bitch, bastard, if you don't deliver food, you will clean up for me. If you don't do anything, be careful, I will let the captain throw you out. Cleaning is also better than food delivery. The 8th day of sailing survival, 6:30 in the morning. Fu Ainen returned to her original job. But Fu Dafu didn't seem to want to make Fu Ainen too comfortable, so he deliberately assigned the corridor outside Li Ji's room and the corridor outside the infirmary to her name. Bang, bang. As soon as there was a sound outside, there was a knock on the door inside. Fu Ainen stood at the door, standing on tiptoe and looking in through the small window of the food delivery. Only a roar was heard, and after the violent impact, it was the sound of teeth scraping the iron door. It makes people feel cold behind. Fu Ainen looked at the closed door and took a few steps back, always feeling like Li Gu would break out. Useless coward. Such a coward. Fu Dafu passing by glanced at Fu Ainen, and kicked over the basin next to him. No breakfast is allowed until it is cleaned up. The water in the basin gathers towards the drain, forming a vortex. The cleaner next to him was sympathizing with Fu Ainen. How could there be such an uncle, but Fu Ainen was staring at the small whirlpool in the drain. Aunt Li, I want to ask, where will the water go? Of course it is directly discharged into the ocean. Aunt Li, who was cleaning alongside, said, you don't think we will recycle it, do you? How can we? We have special water filtration equipment to turn seawater into domestic water. It's clean. Fu Ainen nodded when she heard this, then I'm relieved. You little girl, you have a lot to think about. Aunt Li smiled, today's breakfast is fish porridge. The fish that the sailors caught is fresh. Hearing this, Fu Ainen was taken aback, and his eyes touched Fu Dafu, who came out of the restaurant with a bowl of fish porridge. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 8, Nautical Carnival 8. Chapter 8 Sailing Carnival 8. A large bowl of white fish fillets was sucked into his mouth, and occasionally one or two of these fish fillets were bloodshot. What are you looking at? Fu Dafu glanced at her, I've said it all, if you don't clean it up, you won't have anything to eat. Fu Ainen didn't even want to talk to him. Turning his head to look at the door, he looked at the crew members who came out of the restaurant in 2s and 3s, only the porridge bucket that was about to bottom out was left in the restaurant. Aunt Li. The porridge is gone, let's eat something else. Don't eat fish these days, it's not good to eat too much fish. What are you talking about? Aunt Li looked at Fu Ainen inexplicably, watching her take off her apron and walk all the way to the captain's room. Captain, I want to ask for leave. Fu Ainen entered the captain's room and said directly, I am infected, and I voluntarily apply for isolation. She didn't know if the biggest threat to this so-called game came from these suddenly berserk, zombie-like Dr. Song, Master Zhu, and Brotherly, and she wasn't sure whether their blood would affect the fish in the sea. Class, and then very unlucky to be salvaged. Looking at it now, isolating alone is the best way she thinks to avoid danger. According to the experience gained from taking care of Brotherly and Master Zhu, most of them only took 2 days to get sick. I hope the crew members who eat fish after 3 days are all right and all is well. Fu Ainen frowned tightly. She didn't like this kind of game where the rules were not clearly explained and the danger needed to be predicted by guessing. Since it is necessary to isolate, it is natural to prepare things for isolation. Fu Ainin didn't intend to expose her own space, so she specially pushed a dining car into the kitchen and began to pack the food and water she needed for these 3 days. Since Master Zhu was bitten, that very good-looking and cold chef has become the leader in the kitchen. Although the carving is not very good, the taste of cooking is still very good. Fu Ainin looked at the prepared food on the table, and took some meals to the car, as well as some quick frozen food in the freezer. There is a small refrigerator in the room, and she brought an electric cooker, which is enough for 1 person. Perfect match. Don't you bring some fish? Today's pan-fried salmon is very good. This very good-looking, but so cold cook, who had only exchanged a word or two with her during the 5 or 6 days of working together, unexpectedly came over, picked up a plate of salmon with both appearance and aroma, and put it on the table. On Fu Ainin's dining car, I heard that you were injured and infected, are you okay? It's good to rest for a few days. Fu Ainin nodded, feeling flattered for a while. But forget about this fish. The blood that flowed down that day poured directly into the seawater. If the blood was eaten by fish, would it indirectly infect the people who ate the fish? If it is a crisis such as an infectious disease or zombies, then normal people are at least teammates at the moment. Fu Ainin doesn't feel that such important information needs to be concealed. Is that why you don't want to drink fish porridge this morning? Hearing this, the good-looking Master Fu smiled. Do you know the speed of the return freighter? 37 kilometers per hour. Even those who are polluted by blood, no matter how fast the fish swim, it is impossible to catch up with our freighter and then be caught by our fishing nets. Have you ever been to sea? Why don't you have any common sense? Fu Ainin. Bai was worried and was laughed at. She doesn't have this bit of common sense, but it's really because this is her first time on a boat. Fu Ainin glanced at him. Let me go. End of this chapter. Being a koi in a survival game. Chapter 9, Nautical Carnival 9. Chapter 9, Sailing Carnival 9. Actually, it's not bad for you to choose to hide. Master Fu held the knife in one hand, and gently wiped the blade with a rag in the other hand. His voice was light. But don't you think that killing the infected is the best way to kill the infected people? Is there a good solution? Fu Ainin paused and looked at him in surprise. Only those who have experienced it personally know how difficult it is to kill a group of people who have been together day and night. At least she was not allowed to do so in more than 10 years of education. Even if these people pose potential danger. Fu Ainin re-examined the master chef. This is not like what a chef would say if he stayed in the kitchen honestly and cooked delicious pan-fried salmon. This extremely good-looking Master Fu, it's better to be less social. Fu Ainin pushed the dining car back to the room and locked the door. She also deliberately added an extra iron net and foam at the door. She didn't know why she did this, but she felt that it was safer. 9th day of sailing survival, passed safely. Sailing survival day 10. Fu Ainin lay on the cat's eye and watched the situation outside as usual. Sometimes Aunt Li and the captain would knock on the door to ask if she was okay. Fu Ainin, who is used to staying at home, said that it was okay. If she could stay in the room for the remaining 20 days. In another room, 2 players who are also novice players are discussing. Another one is infected. One of the yellow-haired boys closed the room door and said, "Otherwise, let's stay on the deck according to the previous plan. If something happens at that time, we will seal the door connecting the ship." Okay. The man with glasses next to him nodded. The other players are hiding, and they don't want to show their faces until now. Let's go up by ourselves, don't worry about what they do. The 2 hit it off. The dark clouds in the sky are dense. Another day that is about to rain. The 2 walked together through rows of containers, which were so close together that almost only one person was allowed to pass. Damn, this container really stinks. The yellow-haired boy said, holding his nose, what is it in here? Maybe the food is rotten. The man with glasses looked around, don't worry about it, just find the supply container we found earlier. The most important reason why they dared to go on deck with a backpack was because they found a container full of various supplies. There was food and water in the container, enough for them to last for the remaining 20 days. Here it is. The yellow-haired boy pointed to the serial number on the container. The two of them took out their tools and began to undo the plastic seal on it. Prick. A harsh and unpleasant voice came out. The man in glasses stopped what he was doing. Is there something inside? No way. The yellow-haired boy was taken aback. Didn't it be fine when we came to investigate? Just after noon, the sky is getting darker and darker. Dark clouds piled up and pressed down, and lightning was looming in the clouds, followed by a huge thunder, and scattered raindrops as big as beans began to fall. Heavy rain is coming. Let me do it. The yellow-haired boy took the lock-picking tool from the man with glasses, and opened the thing in 2 or 3 strokes. Roar! There was actually someone inside, who rushed out like crazy, threw the blonde-haired boy down and gnawed on his face. Ah! The yellow-haired boy screamed. Seeing this, the man with glasses kicked away the crazy person above, and dragged the blonde-haired boy to run back. They shipped the wrong container. End of this chapter. Being a Koi in a Survival Game Chapter 10, Nautical Carnival 10. Chapter 10 Sailing Carnival 10. In this container, there is more than one crazy person. Hundreds of people were packed inside like sardines, and they were released the moment they opened the container. The two fled in a narrow alley, and the lunatics chased after them. Under the cabin, everyone raised their heads in unison. The sound of dense footsteps and screams. Of course Fu Ainen heard it too, and quickly looked through the cat's eyes. 2 people ran down from upstairs, covered in blood, looking terrified and panicked. Many crew members looked in the corridor and hadn't reacted yet. The people following them swarmed up, threw down the crew members closest to them, and rushed to bite crazily. These can hardly be called human beings, they are even scarier than Brotherly, who is locked up. Black skin, pus and black blood all over the body. The lips are all gone, revealing the disgusting gums. There is only a beast-like roar left in the mouth, and some people even have only the upper body left, dragging their bare intestines and viscera, and they are persistently crawling towards normal people. This is not a zombie, what else can it be? Fu Wenin looked out the door, and there were still people who didn't understand the situation and wanted to join in front of these zombies. What are you doing standing there in a daze? Run quickly. Go back to the house. Fu Ainen yelled at them, successfully making some people react, and also attracted many zombies who had just come down to hit the door. Depend on. Fu Ainen was frightened, and pushed the small sofa and small refrigerator in the room against the door. Fortunately, these zombies were not too obsessed with knocking on her door, and the voices of other people in the corridor attracted their attention. Fu Ainen looked at these zombies and felt a chill behind him. What a broken game, she doesn't even dare to watch zombie movies on weekdays. But now is not the time to be afraid. With trembling hands, Fu Ainen took out a notebook that had already written a lot of content, and recorded while looking at the zombies. The scope of the cat's eyes is limited, and she can only record who has been bitten and who has been scratched within the sight range. These zombies are very sensitive to hearing. What about vision? Fu Ainen looked at the bright corridor. Within her sight, a fat man covered his mouth and pressed against the corner of the wall, but the zombies next to him had already spotted him. Able-bodied zombies move quickly. Even though Fatty's potential exploded when his life was threatened and he hid in a room as quickly as possible, he was scratched by the catching-up zombies. Fu Ainen sweated for the fat man, lowered her head and quickly recorded. Zombie, sensitive hearing, normal vision, no fear of light, extremely fast speed, no pain. Thinking of the zombies crashing into the door just now, Fu Ainen added another sentence to the notebook. Great strength. But where did these zombies come from? They are obviously not the crew of the Homecoming. There is also the infectious disease that Brotherly and the others got. Could it have anything to do with these zombies? Fu Ainen typed 2 question marks on the notebook. The other side kept staring at the situation outside. The people outside were quite responsive, and most of them fled back into the room. Of course, there are also some unlucky ones who were surrounded and robbed by hundreds of zombies, bitten beyond recognition and torn to pieces. Perhaps other survivors also discovered the characteristic that zombies are very sensitive to sound, and the entire cabin became quiet, or, a dead silence. Fu Anan sat on the sofa and took a sip or two of clear water to restore his mood. I sat for a long time because my legs were weak, and then I stood up and turned all electronic clocks, mobile phones, etc. to silent. It's a pity that not everyone can think of this. Some careless people didn't turn off their electronic tools, and a harsh and rapid alarm clock rang in a certain room, causing zombies to flock to it. End of this chapter.